Welcome back to the Whatnauts review show. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how's your weekend been so far?
It's been good. My brother and I went to the movie theater for a Wilkie Wick outing just to enjoy John Wick together as a family.
There you go. Good stuff. I went to go see John Wick on Thursday as well. And then I think next weekend I'm also going to go see it in 4DX. So I'm excited about all of that. It's going to be the whole freaking roller coaster of a ride. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's good so far. If you guys did not know, here on the review show, each week we have a different story to talk about. It could be a comic book, could be a movie, an anime, manga, TV show, who knows what. We read it, we watch it, we come back here and talk about it. This week, we are finishing up our coverage of the Fast and Furious, the Fast Saga, if you will. We are going to be talking about the most recent trilogy, 7 through 9. And this is the one where they went all out on the names. We have Furious 7, The Fate of the Furious, and F9. So we got some funky names. We also watched Hobbs and Shaw. We won't really be talking about it in this one. We might reference it here and there, but not required material for this here podcast. But yeah, that's what we will be talking about today. Melissa, I have to say, today, the day that we are recording this, marks exactly 1 year that I've been out here in Oklahoma. Oh. My flight to move out here was on the 26th, and today is the 26th of March.
It is.
So, yeah. So we went to get some donuts this morning to celebrate. They had an applesauce donut, which was fantastic. But I also have something else to celebrate here.
Right.
I have some Corona. Now,
some 11 a.m. Coronas.
It's 11 a.m. So, Melissa, I have yours here with me. I knew you said you wouldn't have one, but I'll have yours. So all that said, I am having donuts and Corona for breakfast.
What a way to celebrate.
So, right?
I thought about seeing if I could get a tiny little airplane bottle of The Rock's Terramana tequila and having a tequila sunrise for this brunch recording. But I wasn't able to get to the store. I'm doing that this afternoon. I've got my standard iced coffee, but I put it in my most tropical Starbucks cup. So I'm trying to stay in the globetrotting theme here.
Now, in line with the way Vin Diesel drinks his Coronas, I have to hold the bottle by the neck. My whole
You've got to show that logo.
How right? Yeah. Not an ad. Not sponsored. Don't look at that. Not sponsored.
If you turn it around at any point during the recording where the label isn't facing, like it'll buzz. An alarm will sound.
Not family. Excommunicated. But
you've been downgraded to neighbor.
Corona. Yeah. Acquaintance. Family friend.
Man, this is a movie series that makes you want to barbecue.
Yes, it does.
Not just barbecue the food, barbecue the setting, barbecue the event.
Barbecue the lunchbox. Barbecue the movie. Barbecue the flamethrower. Kids love that one. So, yeah. The Fast and the Furious. We are wrapping up the Fast Saga. We got 3 movies to cover here. So let's jump right into kind of the plot synopses of these 3. And then we can do some spoiler-free thoughts and then jump into breaking each of these down. Plots. Let's see here. We got there's so much. The family has now been brought up into the big lakes.
Yep.
Here. they are now working against like paramilitary units and like global terrorists and sci-fi action stuff. But in Furious 7, this is the one that is Paul Walker's last film. He died on the set of this doing one of the stunts. But this one is surprisingly good.
Yes.
I was not expecting this one to be as good as it was. But yeah, I liked this one a lot. Let's see, I'm going to open up my notes here so we can do some of the plot stuff. Let me get my notes, blah, 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 blah. Furious 7. Okay, so yeah, so we get introduced to this concept of the God's Eye. This piece of technology that can find anyone and everyone. They only need to basically turn it on, and every screen that they have there can find someone. They are now hired by Mr. Nobody, played by Kurt Russell, to find the creator of this, do some more heisty stuff, but like I said, on a much bigger scale here. Now we met the first Shaw dude last time. So
yes, in 6.
So here we get them back.
The post credit scene, or like very final scene in Fast 6, is they've taken out Luke Evans. And then we finally catch up to Tokyo Drift in time. We are now caught up there.
Right.
Now is now. And we see that it was Deckard Shaw. We see that it's Jason Statham behind Han's crash. And then he says, "That was for my brother." And then we're all like, "Oh no, more Shaws." And then the Shaws just keep coming. We're up to at least 4 Shaws at this time.
Indeed. So yeah, it's another just like, let's deal with the Shaws and the consequences of our actions with that. And then the fate of the Furious. Of course, there is now a mysterious hacker named Cipher that has been causing a lot of problems. They are tasked to find and capture Cipher before they don't know if it's a he or she at the time,
or how many people it is. Could it be an organization?
And they are tasked with finding Cipher and capturing her and bringing her in. A little bit of spoilers there. It is a she. But
it's Academy Award winner Charlize Theron.
It sure is. And yeah, this adventure takes them all the way into Russia. They are driving on the snow and the ice. They are causing international incidents all over the place. Who knows how Roman is still alive after, like, he should have died of hypothermia at some point in this movie. This one was a lot to take in. And then, of course, Fast 9 here. Which is the most recent
movie
one.
that really begs the question: how does Roman continue to live?
Yes,
he himself is like, why
am
I not dead?
This one is an interesting one because it brings a lot of the series full circle.
Yes,
stuff that we've heard about mentioned, the history of Dom and his troubled past. As well as some secret family members that we didn't know about, some characters who we thought were dead are now returning. It brings all of that into the light. And while it kind of wraps up this trilogy, it also doesn't at the same time. We know that Fast 10, which is the one that is about to be out shortly after this, is kind of the start of a new trilogy. We know that they're making like 10, 11, and 12.
Okay, I wasn't sure about. I knew
Or
originally
maybe not
this
12,
was going to be
but
like,
I know there's 10 and
right.
11.
See, that's what I was thinking, that 10 and then 11 is basically 10 part 2. Like these are the Final Fantasy games or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which I also happened to beat Final Fantasy X this weekend. I've been playing that with my partner, so we have 10-2 next. Perfect.
I hope you're able to beat Fast and the Furious 10. And by beat it, I mean just survive it, go to it, live it.
Exactly. So yeah, a lot is happening here in the Fate of the Furious. We learn that Dom has a kid. In the next one, the mother is Elena. That's kind of all of the non-spoilery stuff that I feel like I can say. I know I was kind of all over the place on what the plot is, but look, if you're listening to this, we've already covered the previous Fast and the Furious movies. I'm kind of expecting that you're already in, or you've already seen them. And
if it's a spoiler to say I don't think it's a spoiler to say who doesn't die, which is that after the tragic death of Paul Walker, they let Brian continue to live. They say he just retired. He moved away with Mia to start a family, to live a quiet life, and they keep with that. There is a moment in Fast 9 where you see a car, the windows are blacked out, you don't see who's in it, but it's clearly indicated that's Brian. Brian is still alive in the franchise, whereas Paul Walker is not. But I think it's a very sweet tribute. It's very touching, everything they do to deal with that loss.
Yeah. So, of course, we have been covering all of these so that when Fast 10 does come out, we will be covering Fast 10 to some extent. I think over on the Reactor Core, one of our other podcasts where we do all of our spoiler casts and stuff for the brand new stuff that's just out. So be on the lookout for that down the road, because it's out in like a month or so, month and a half-ish.
It's a May. I don't remember when in May.
I don't know. I gotcha. Well, yeah, I am excited to now get to go watch that in theaters. So, Melissa, how did you feel about this final trilogy here? This most recent trilogy here?
I think all of them were very solid. They're a lot of fun. The series is growing in terms of scale. In the ninth one, they literally send 2 characters into space. Space is breached. But it grows in terms of emotion as well. Like that is still the strongest feature of this series, is how absolutely sincere it is. Like they really think about every character's relationship to every other character. It's filled as many big bombastic stunts as it has. It is these really beautiful little character moments, just these small, quiet things. Somebody will look at somebody a certain way or say something, and it really gets you. It never loses. Like, it says family is important, and it fully lives up to that. That's not just lip service. They are imbuing that into every aspect of this series.
It's so fascinating now to look back at where the franchise started, because when we started covering this, Melissa, you had not watched any of them. I had only seen the first 3, and so it's interesting to now have experienced like all of these and just be like, man, they just kept escalating, and it got more and more ridiculous. I think it was in like 7 and 8. There were moments I just tossed up my hands. It was like, what the hell? Whatever. But it's fun.
My favorite of which, my favorite of those is when Luke Hobbs gets injured and he has his arm in a cast, and then there is action, there is danger. He has to go back to work. Flexes his arm, pops the cast off.
But they go so big and bombastic, and I feel like in a lot of other franchises, if they tried to do something like this, it would be the end of that franchise. It'd be like, oh, this is dumb, this is stupid. But somehow the Fast Saga has been able to walk that line and make it fun, make it endearing. And even though it is still dumb and stupid, you'll want to watch. Like, you want to just be like, what shenanigans do they get into next? Because this is wild. And each one has their ups and downs in quality and stuff like that. I have to say, I did not like the Fate of the Furious. I think that is the worst one that we've of the whole set of all 9. I think that is the worst one.
There's stuff I really like in Fate.
Sure. And I don't disagree with you there, and I think it still fits the trajectory of all of that stuff. But it was just my least favorite of the bunch there. But yeah, Fast 9 I thought was fantastic, if not one of the better ones. I will say that I felt like that movie was much more competent in handling an ensemble cast. Not that the previous ones were bad at them, but it just had that extra oomph that I'm just like, there's something here. They put some secret sauce in that's working. And yeah, it was good. I had a blast with these. But I think that's kind of all I have to say, like, spoiler free for these ones. Go watch it. Now is the perfect time.
Yeah.
I will say, over the course of covering all of these, there was a mix of locations where we found these. Some were on Peacock, some were on HBO, some we had to rent. So it's kind of unfortunate that there's not all one big place. But at least Fast 9 is out on HBO Max if you have that. So you can just watch it right there and be ready to go for Fast 10. But yeah, do you have any other kind of final remarks? Spoiler free?
No, I'm ready to get into it. I want to hit that NOS.
Cool. Let's take a quick break for housekeeping. And then when we come back, we will start diving into these films. We'll be right back. Here at the Whatnauts, we make multiple different shows, and a lot of hard work goes into making them, so we would love it if you check them all out. If you enjoy our shows, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is the best place to show your support. For just $1 a month, you can get early access to episodes, and at our $3 tier, a Patreon-exclusive podcast, The Pilots Club. You can even get a shout-out and thank you on most of our shows at the $5 tier. And if you're one of our patrons already, thank you so much. It means the world to us. You can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in The Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. You can also find us on YouTube and Twitch for video versions of the shows, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a hoodie or a mug or something else, head over to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We love you a lot. This past month here on the Pilots Club, we talked about CSI, the original pilot for CSI. And then this upcoming month, literally right after we're done recording this, we're going to record the Pilots Club on Bob Patterson, a very short-lived TV show starring Jason Alexander as the number 3 self-help guru. And before we started recording this, I looked up the Wikipedia for that show. Apparently, he also made another character, something Clay. I don't remember what the character's name was. That was not in the show, but is the number 4 self-help guru. So I don't know, that it's a weird show, but we will be talking about that on the Pilots Club, our Patreon exclusive podcast for those at the $3 tier and above. right here on the review show this past week. Melissa, what did we get to talking about this past week?
We watched Angeline, a 5-episode limited series on Peacock that is based on true events. It's about this mysterious woman who calls herself Angeline, who in LA in the 1980s started acquiring billboards with her face on it, just promoting herself. It just says Angeline and her face is on it. And there's a phone number and you call the phone number and it's just the office of the billboard printers who's acting as her management. And it's not clear what she wants. Does she want to act? Does she want to sing? But she just wants to be famous. She just wants to be known. She just wants to be a force of nature, dressed all in pink, this sort of living ethereal sex goddess. So the show is an investigation into who is Angeline? How did she get here? What does she want?
Yeah, it was a fascinating show. I keep saying this is not one that I would have watched on my own. It wouldn't have even been on my radar, but it was fantastic. And it's filmed like this mockumentary. It's like part mockumentary, part like reenactment, but that has this interesting like meta layer to it where characters' accounts of what happened are contradicting one another. So they're like, no, that's not how it happened, and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's a fascinating one for sure. I enjoyed it a lot. So go check that out too. Over on the Captain's Log, Melissa, this past week, we finally got to some really important stuff on the Captain's Log. We explained poop. That I just...
If you haven't heard of it before,
you've been waiting for.
I talked about the new movie Inside, where Willem Dafoe plays an art thief who gets trapped inside a high-rise, really cushy penthouse trying to steal a piece of art, and the high-tech security system traps him in there, and there's no utilities on because the owner is away on extended travel, so he just has to poop in the bathtub. And when you see the poop, that's your clock for how long he's been trapped up there. That many poops. This man has been alone.
There you go. Poop explained. Myth busted. I don't know what the myth was, but it's busted. And then over on the Reactor Core, we have our reactions to the first half of The Mandalorian Season 3. That was both myself and Ignacio on that podcast over there. And Melissa, this next week, you and I are going to be talking about Yellow Jackets. Numbers 1 and 2. Season 2 just started. So we will be talking about the first 2 episodes of Season 2 over there. So yeah, be on the lookout for some cool stuff coming up down the road. Yeah, I will say, since we are just about done with the Fast and the Furious here, for the end of the month specials next month, in the next few months, we will be talking about the hit TV show The Good Place.
Yes.
We had originally planned to do this at the start of the year and then do Fast and the Furious, but we were like, what if we switch them so that we can go see Fast 10 in theaters? So yeah,
we'd been determined to find a way to tackle the Fast franchise at some point, and we're like, this is our one opportunity. We have to do them 3 a month at the beginning of the year, and then we're all cut up for Fast 10. So that place is still going to be good when we get to it next month.
It sure will. It sure will. But that is all the housekeeping that we got for right now. So let's dive into spoilers. Missed opportunity. I could have said, let's shift gears into spoilers. Let's take a turn. Left. I don't know. Okay, so Fast 7, 8, and 9.
Spoiler is a car word.
No.
You put it on the back of your car and it makes you go fast.
Oh,
a spoiler.
Yeah, you can have a spoiler on the back of your car. That's for sure. I know nothing about cars. I'm not a car
That's the most car I've ever talked about. That's it.
Well, let's pump the brakes before we start speaking out of our asses here. So my first note for Furious 7 is the line that Paul Walker had: "Cars don't fly."
I know.
When
the most dramatic foreshadowing.
He's playing with his kid and he's like playing with his car as if it's an airplane. He's just like, "Cars don't fly, you silly goose." And immediately my mind went to the old Superman line: "You will believe a car can fly."
Yeah, you do.
And yes, that is exactly where this series goes. A car not only flies, it goes to space 2 movies later.
Yes.
They strap rocket engines to the car and send it to space. God, this franchise is wild. Like you said, good foreshadowing. Like, it's not even like a mystery of like, oh, I wonder what he means by cars don't fly. It's just like, oh, I know exactly where this is going.
What does this symbolize? Further action, big stunt.
Yeah, exactly.
We do get one very notable stunt in Fast 7, which is when there's 3 big towers. They're in like Abu Dhabi or somewhere. They're there to steal something from the Prince of Jordan. They're at this fancy party in the middle of the day, which you don't expect to see women painted gold during daylight hours. That seems like a nighttime activity only. But they crash this fancy party. They steal this guy's car, which is like one of like 6 cars in the world, like those cars that Tej and Roman both bought at the end of Fast 5.
Right.
When they jump it through the building from one building to the next, and then they can't brake and they have to jump it again from that building to the 3rd building. Incredible.
Fantastic. Yeah. That stunt was great. I like, that is the one that feels, or at least that stunt is one of the stunts that feel the most like the most Mission Impossible-y, which is weird to say because I know that Tom Cruise does all his own stunts and stuff like that. So this, in a weird way, it feels the most possible. Like, yeah. I mean, it's a sports car. Maybe if you're fast enough, you could go from one building to the other. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, you wouldn't be on the same floor, but you have enough forward momentum. You'd eventually get into another floor on the other building, right? But then one thing that I like about these movies as they've progressed is they just, it feels like after Tokyo Drift, Justin Lin or whoever else on the staff just came up with a big list of all the places they could race or do stunts, all of the different kinds of stunts they could do, all of the different troubles a car could have that they could potentially do stuff. Like, just a big long checklist of like, yep, we raced in the desert, we raced on the snow and ice, we raced near the water, we raced in the jungle, we raced with no brakes, we raced with a tank, we raced with this, we raced with that, right? Like,
we raced with ham, we raced with eggs.
Exactly. I will not race them here or there. Like, it feels like that, and I'm not mad at that. Is a way, like, I feel like the checklist is fun to see how they will incorporate it. It's like us, how we play bingo here on the review show with all of our like movie and entertainment tropes of just like, I have a like, well, if I'm here and you're here, then who's driving the bus? And we don't know when or if that will pop up in the course of this entire year, but it's neat to see how. Right, we know we might see something like it, or which to be honest, I was kind of expecting one of those here in the Fast and Furious, and we didn't really get that, which is strange. But yeah, the brakes don't work. No brakes. No brakes. is like, oh, yes. Good. Check. Check mark.
Yeah.
I had fun with that one for sure. It was good.
Yeah, I think 7 is also very good with the emotional aspects of it. There is
Yes.
a weight to every scene with Brian in it. Every scene with Brian and Mia. I think she and their son have to go into hiding, and he calls her just to say, I hope I'm gonna get out of this.
Yeah.
If I don't,
Yeah.
I hope you two, take Jack, go here, do this. And she's like, no, I'm going to see you again.
Yeah, that I think is one of the wild things for me. I mentioned how good I thought Furious 7 was.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it should have any right to be that good because of the problem. Like, it's just like, your main star died on this. How do you deal with that? And on top of that, I also have to say, I don't think this one got off to a great start. I kind of rolled my eyes a lot at the start of just like, it was macho one-liner after macho one-liner. And I was just like, all right, here we go. This is going to be an interesting one. This is also the one where he died. I don't know if they're going to do this. And by the end, I was like, this was awesome. Like, this was a fitting end. And I don't know when in production he passed away. If it was closer to the end or the middle or the beginning, who knows? I know there's really only a couple scenes where his brother stepped in. There's the one that's very obvious, and then I think there was the one that like, they're all like standing up on the ridge. I thought that one was also his brother a little bit, but I wasn't sure exactly.
There's also a scene where like I think Dom calls Mia when they're at that like hideaway, and she just tells him something Brian is doing, and we don't see Brian doing that thing. That felt like an obvious, we can't film this. We can't film anything to cut away to.
Yeah, like that, or just like I don't know, because it felt like what was happening in the movie mirrored what they were trying to convey in real life. Their condolences, their respect for Brian, for Paul Walker. That like it was just like, how did they have the foresight to film? Did they do reshoots? I don't remember. I mean, it was a long time ago, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember his death happening in the news, and that was just the immediate thing of like, well, how do you continue? I don't know, but God, they made this one just a fitting end to him. Just, man, it was so good.
It's so graceful. You're right. Like I think there was already, you can imagine that maybe there already was something in the script of Brian is unsure about balancing his action life and his domestic life, settling down with Mia and his son, and then they have another baby on the way.
Yeah.
I could see how that might have already been in there, and then they were able to turn into, this is where Brian truly belongs, is with his family, with Mia, with the kids. He deserves a quiet life. We leave him behind out of love, out of respect. He is retired. Brian knows a life of peace from now on. And it's such a... the final scene is like the whole crew is like relaxing on the beach. We don't get the backyard barbecue. We get like Coronas in a cooler on the beach. And it's Dom and Letty and Tej and Roman and Ramsey, who's brand new.
Yeah.
Even though she's just already... Ramsey's known these guys for like 4 days, but she already gets a good feel for the vibes of this entire crew and what their journeys are. Ramsey's very intuitive. They see him playing in the surf with Mia and his son, which is so beautiful, so sweet. I'm so happy they were able to capture that while they could, and they just look out and say things are going to be different from now on. Brian is where he belongs now. Brian is happy. It really did a number on me. I was so emotional watching that. I think it's so beautiful. It's really graceful. I admire the choice to not kill Brian, but to leave him just off screen, quietly living a peaceful life. And they keep talking about Brian as if he is still existing in the world. They never drop Brian. He is mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, the final shot in F9 is they're having another big family barbecue and Mia's there and she's like, oh, Brian's on his way. And then you just see this car like tear through the street and like park. And I think just maybe as the door's about to open, it cuts to credits directed by Justin Lin, which is something I don't think any other franchise has done. And I admire I don't know, I really admire that this is the avenue that they took. I don't know if it is plot-wise easier or trickier than just finding a way to kill Brian just to have him die in an explosion off screen, but I think it's really respectful, really touching. I like that everybody is truly part of the family, like in perpetuity. Like it's this magical world where everybody lives. This is why Roman is still alive. He's magic. Nothing can touch him. Nothing can touch any of these people.
This was the movie that I truly felt like most of the stuff in here was just ridiculous. Like we've talked about some of the stuff that just, didn't make sense in the last trilogy. It's like, well, physics don't work no more. But like I mentioned the like macho one-liners at the start. It's all, when you take the shot, don't miss, right? Or, no more funerals. One more. His, right? It's like it's about to get a lot meaner. Just a lot of these like dumb, ridiculous one-liners, and then immediately into like I have a note in just all caps, one word: wild. What the hell? Like I don't even remember exactly what stunt that was on. It must have been when they were breaking Ramsey out to get her. But I'm just sitting there like, this is fucking wild. Like this is ridiculous.
They have to parachute their cars down. Roman gets lost, spins off into the forest.
Yeah. Which I'll get back to Roman in just a bit here. I also like in the midst of them with all of their cheesy one-liners and God's eye and this and that and parachuting cars, I don't remember them ever explaining who Ramsey was. And so in that scene when he opens up the thing and like takes off the hood and I'm sitting there just like, who's she? I was like, well, what? Why is she here? Why are we saving her?
I think they had mentioned like it was designed by this one hacker. This is the hacker's name. It's the classic. No, you'd think that if characters in a movie had seen any other movie, they would presume everybody is a hot chick, because that's always what the twist is. Anything you think isn't a hot chick is.
Which they then give her the like Bond girl moment when they go to Abu Dhabi. She walks out of the ocean just like Halle Berry did, just like Daniel Craig did. She has that like Bond girl moment, which is really interesting because even just the idea of them kind of going to Abu Dhabi to like jump between these, like I mentioned Mission Impossible, also kind of feels like something Bond would do, right? He'd like fly his Aston Martin between buildings somehow, some way. And that would be the biggest stunt that they do in the entirety of the thing, right? But yeah, like it just felt like, they have their like little Bond moment there, which was interesting. And then something else. Oh, go ahead, please.
No, I like when Ramsey first meets the crew and she like sizes them all up and gives them a nickname, and she calls Dom Alpha and calls Letty Mrs. Alpha, which you later learn that Dom and Letty did elope before she lost her memory, and she suddenly remembers, wait, we are really married. Like, that's part of her journey in this movie, is to get back to these memories she had of truly knowing how much she really loves Dom, knowing that they weren't just together, they were married. I love the flashback to their elopement, where she's wearing like a really lovely, not a full formal wedding gown, but like a nice white dress. She's got a little veil. And Dom is wearing a white tank top.
Yep, just his classic wife beater tank top. Yeah,
wife marrier, wife acquirer.
Yes, yeah. Family lover tank top.
Right, that's what they're called now. You got your family lover on. But I think that's a funny moment that Ramsey is not only a computer genius, but as that moment is later contextualized, you're like, oh, she was able to call these two have married energy. Like I said, she's kind of intuitive about figuring out who everybody else in the crew is. It is funny that she's just part of the gang now, because she was kidnapped. Like, Cipher's people kidnapped her. Like, doesn't Ramsey have something to go back to? Does she not have like a family or friends or anything else? They save her from one kidnapping and she's just theirs forever. She doesn't have a home. This is her home now.
Yeah. Yep. Man, I'm looking at my notes. My partner pointed something out here, especially when we get to Abu Dhabi. Like you said, it was a daytime party, like women in bikinis painted all gold, just dancing. For some reason, this movie, at least the first like third of it, felt a lot more like a music video than anything else. Because of all of these like dancing party scenes and the way they filmed them. It did just felt like this, like switch, boom, 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 like on beat to do these like just real brief flashes of here's a slow-mo moment of the party, just bam, 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 right? And then we came up with the list of B's that define the Fast franchise. It's boobs, butts, bad one-liners, and blowing shit up. The 4 B's.
Yeah. Mostly butts. Way more butts than boobs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But still, like, it's just, we just thought that was really funny. And then speaking of butts, we got to speak about Roman, because I both like and didn't like where they brought the character in this one. He is now just the butt of the jokes.
Yeah.
Right? Which I don't necessarily like that, but I think he's good at playing it. Like I like a lot of the comedic stuff that they do with him. When we did watch Hobbs and Shaw, the one thing I really did not like was just the alpha male back and forth.
Yeah.
God vomited in my eyes and it burns when I look at you. Blah. Like, it's like, what?
I'm like,
I don't need any of this. Truly, it's not funny. It's not charming.
Yes, like when Roman and Tej joke at each other, you can tell there's still some love there. But Hobbs is so mean. Like, Shaw is mean to Hobbs, but I get the sense that on the whole,
understandably so, but
yeah,
it's just not charming.
Like, no, it gets really grating very quickly. Watching that movie, I was very happy for the scene where they're arguing on the plane and Kevin Hart turns around and interrupts them. Like, thank goodness. The insults are done now. They'll be done for a while.
The only other thing that I will say about Hobbs and Shaw is that I didn't really like it. It was too sci-fi, but like over everything else, it was just a movie by The Rock, right?
Yeah.
It's Kevin Hart showing up. It's Ryan Reynolds showing up. And it's just them being them, right? It's not even like, okay, you're going to like Ryan Reynolds, the same kind of comedy that you get in Deadpool. Yeah. Exact. Like, it's the exact same character. he's good at it, but I don't need that. It's not believable in that world. I don't care. It's not so yeah, it was just like, this is just a The Rock movie. That's all it is.
I like the visit to Samoa. I like getting to see his family, see the island. I really like that sincere, like, personal cultural touch to the movie. That mom is great. I love Hobbs's mom.
She's fantastic.
I want Hobbs's mom replacing Hobbs in every movie. It's just the mom. I just want it.
The family. Let's go.
We don't need another Hobbs and Shaw, but we do need a Mrs. Hobbs and Mrs. Shaw movie that is just their two moms.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can team up with Rita Moreno.
I would love that. So Roman is now just kind of the butt of the jokes in all of these. And I don't, like I said, don't necessarily like that. I think it cheapens his character. And I don't remember what his beef was with the franchise, but I mentioned it a little bit last time. Where somewhere in here he started to be like, well, if he's involved, I'm not gonna be in this, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I wonder if it's centered around this and just like maybe wanting a little bit more money or more to do with his character, and they were like, well, hey, we're taking your character in this direction, but maybe we can incorporate some interesting things with that might appease you, which Again, I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if that's the case, but that's kind of what it feels like to me, is that, yes, he becomes the butt of many jokes, but then he has his badass moments where he's just like, holy shit, I just did that. And then it get by Fast 9, he's just like, there were 14 of these dudes all shooting at me, trying to take off my head. The only bullet that hit me hit my jacket. No scars. Like, I got not a scratch. Are we superheroes? Are we invincible?
Yes, I like that moment a lot.
Moments there, yeah.
Yeah, I like that they gave that to Roman himself. Roman often played as a dumber character, that he gets to be smart enough that he's like, no, I know what's happening. I know what physics is. I know I should be dead. There must be something real special going on if I'm not dead. And a moment from 9 I keep thinking about is when the car shoots up into space and you just pause for like 10 seconds looking at Roman's face, looking down at Earth from space. It's truly a beautiful moment. I really like it.
The number 11th most wanted man on Earth is now on top of the world, right? Literally. He has some interesting stuff that he gets to do down the road. I like that his hypothesis is even in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Like in this franchise that just like, guys, how do we keep doing this ridiculous stuff? Which is exactly what I always heard these movies ended up doing, is that they just leaned in more and more. Like, we know that they are getting more ridiculous. The characters are now starting to comment on that. I think that's neat. Yeah. Good stuff there.
Are we
let's see
ready
here.
to dig into 8? 7 and 8 kind of blur together for me a little bit.
I have two really quick things to mention, which one is more specific to this. But how did Hobbs know the drone would exit the tunnel at that exact moment? I don't know, but he did somehow. He just blindly jumps off of that thing to hit it with the car. It was another one of those, just like, how Sway? I don't know.
I have such an impressionistic experience with these movies. It's just shapes and colors. I really love it. But like, when you say things like this to me, I don't remember a drone or a tunnel. I just remember
it's closer
feelings.
to the end. It's after he breaks the cast. He's like, it's time for Daddy to go to business, right? Go to work.
Yeah.
And he breaks the cast, and his like big hero moment is that as the predator drone that's tracking Ramsey and her like satellite uplink is that what she's doing? She's doing something, but they keep transferring her from car to car. She's finally in the car with Letty, and then she's like, well, whose car do I go in if they start shooting at you? And she's like, this is it, like, we're down to our last thing. And the drone follows them in this underground tunnel, and their car comes out, and in like the saving hero moment, The Rock in his tank or car or something comes flying like over the bridge's entrance to hit the drone as it exits the tunnel. And he's just like, I got you, you're safe, I'm The Rock. How did he know that it was right then, right there? Like, I in another world, he could have hit it and missed, right? And the thing would have, or just been too late, right? And it's just one of those, like, how did he do it? How did he know? There's no way. Like, he's not tracking it. He probably just showed up. So how does he know where in the tunnel they are? It just makes no sense. But I digress. The last thing, and this is also kind of a recommendation for the end here, but my observation, so I should say my partner's observation at the end of like the first trilogy was like, so these movies are kind of just like Bring It On, but for guys, right? And I was just like, well, I mean, you're not wrong. Whereas watching this one, now having Vin Diesel, having Michelle Rodriguez, having The Rock, having Jason Statham, having like all of these big action stars, I was like, this is just the Expendables, but for millennials. Like, this is what this is, which Jason Statham is in the Expendables, but it's like all the action stars that I grew up with. Kind of, it was like The Rock, Jason Statham, Michelle Rodriguez, right? It was like then like all of that. It's just like this is just the Expendables, but for millennials.
Well, this came first, and then the Expendables is like, we're gonna do Fast and Furious, but everyone old.
Right, yeah, and like that's the thing. They now have what, like 6 Expendable movies? I don't know. But yeah, that is the thing. I remember, I think, going to see the first Expendables in theaters and walking away from that just being like, I'm glad I don't have to see another one of those ever again. But my dad loves them, right?
They're for dads.
Yes, it is the like late or like, I guess like early Gen X and also like boomers. Like, these are your action stars. You love them in anything that they're in. Here they all are in one big giant action movie. I like the concept. I think that's fantastic.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't care about those movies at all.
It's parents just want to see familiar faces. Yeah. Like, Dad just always has a John Wayne or a Jimmy Stewart on at any given time. I can't even separate them as distinct films. He may have just been watching one very, very long Jimmy Stewart movie every time I'm over at the house. It's just another 2-hour segment of the 156-hour Jimmy Stewart experience. But he likes a Statham too. I think Statham's another guy where it's not, I'm not watching movies with Statham in them. He's like, I'm watching a Statham. And I think about this a lot. Like, what are the actors that I'm just going to watch anything of? And my kids are going to be like, Mom's just going to sit down and pour herself a wine and watch a Dano. She's just watching a Malik.
She's watching a Chris Evans, right?
She's just having an Eisenberg night. Just leave Mom to herself.
You have a little like magnetized mood board on the refrigerator. What kind of night is it?
Yeah. Which Chris will I view this evening?
Yeah. Which Hemsworth brother? Yeah, so that's really all I have to say on that one. Let's move on to the Fate of the Furious. So my first note here is, after Paul's send-off, why did they greenlight this one? Like, what was the it factor that they were like, yes, that's why we need to make this movie? And I think the answer comes in, what if Dom betrays the family? There you go, right?
I enjoyed this movie
with this.
Yeah, go for it. Tell me your problem.
Is that I think this storyline comes either too soon or too late. They already did the what if Letty betrays the team and just did that. And she's still like, she just got her memories back. And now Dom betrays the family. That just feels just like you kind of just did that plot. It's a different character. Sure, they have their own reasons. Sure. Yeah. But it's just like,
But this time we get to have, there was not really Letty's perspective, because Letty she lost her memory. She doesn't know she has a family to betray. But here we get to see Dom and his very good reason for doing what he's doing. And for him to just have this belief that I have to know that what I'm doing is right. And I have to know that my family loves me enough that eventually they are going to see that I'm still me. Like, I believe I can still come back to them after I figure my way out of all this.
Yeah. The realization is like, oh, he's not betraying the family. He's supporting the family because it's his family that he's trying to save here. But yeah, I just thought it was like that's just a little bit too similar to Letty betraying them and stuff like that. And then I just like Charlize Theron, great actress. I really like her in The Old Guard on Netflix. Fantastic in that. I did not like her like dreads in this. They look terrible. And again, like white people with dreads, I guess I don't know exactly what her ethnicity is, but she's at the very least
South African.
Yeah, very white passing. And I was just like, I thought we had known not to do this.
I will say they're not like dreads. They're sort of like
they're real thin
twisties. Yeah. I'll say that her hair
looked bad.
They looked worse in my memory. I remember like the trailer and people's reaction to the trailer for this movie that had her in it being just uproarious, and going back and watching it sincerely for the first time now, I'm like, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was, as I remembered it being. So I'm like, I don't know. It's fine. She seems like she's having a
kind of how I feel with it. Like, it's not so egregious that's like, whoa, cancel the Fast. He's racist. No, it was all just like, ooh, not my favorite hairstyle. Looks kind of bad, but I guess it's fine. Like, especially when she like ties them all back, it just looks like she has long hair. That's it. But yeah, I think I just felt that this one was just largely boring. It felt kind of generic to me for most of the movie, and it wasn't until the submarine onwards that I was like, yes, I like this stuff. But the rest of it, I was like, it's just kind of generic action movie to me.
I think this movie had a lot of highlights. I did enjoy Charlize Theron. You can look at her and tell this woman won an Oscar. She seems like she's having a lot of fun. She seems like an actress who does really try and do her most in a lot of different genres.
This one? For this performance?
No, she won an Oscar for the movie Monster. You could tell she has that energy, though, of I have won an Oscar. The Academy has recognized me.
She's a fantastic actor. Yeah.
She is. She can do a lot of different things. I think she brings an interesting new energy to the movie. I really like the Elena storyline. I like that the reason why she didn't tell Dom about their son right away is because he had just gotten back with Letty. Him and Letty went on this honeymoon. And she's like, I wanted to give you space. Like, you and Letty deserve that space. I love that there's always been a tremendous amount of respect between Letty and Elena. Like, it could have been a more animosity-filled relationship, but it truly isn't. I find that so touching. The baby in this movie is maybe the best movie baby I've ever seen. He's so expressive. He's so engaged. I don't know how they got that performance out of a baby, out of the 2 or 3 babies that played this role of little Toretto. Truly.
Next year when you do your Oscar countdown, instead of wettest movies, just best movie babies in
best
this year's
movie
movies.
Babies. Top this one. Top Little B. I especially love Shaw and the baby together. That's so fun. I love that Shaw's genuinely takes a liking to the kid and watches out for him, and not just I am protecting you because what am I going to do? Let the baby die? But he kind of does spark a real connection with the baby. He's making all the jokes at the baby.
Yeah, I love and hate that scene at this. Excuse me, at the same time, because I like the scene is completely competent. Jason Statham is doing his thing. But both him and what's funny is that both him and Vin Diesel have kind of gone through that action star phase. Even The Rock did this, where
your pacifiers, your tooth fairies.
Yes, exactly, where they are the big action hero that gets stuck with a baby. With the kid, right? And so I like that it there's a nod to that, to these actors' histories in there. Yes. I think that it's just kind of one of those big brain moves that I want to say is just genius. It shouldn't work by all means. This should be so dumb. So I really just the Fast Saga is so bad now. What have these movies gotten into? But it works, and it's just I can't even fault them. I wouldn't have thought of that in a million years.
Who wants to watch a normal movie? Get it at this level. They got to the level. They embraced the level. Them and the level are one now. They are the level. You hope to get to Fast 8, Fate of the Furious standards in terms of what your film is doing.
Yeah.
Dom's reaction to learning he is a son, I think, is also very touching. He names the baby Brian, because Elena was like, I picked the middle name, which is Marcos. I've been calling him Marcos. I wanted you to pick his first name. And he names him Brian. I was wondering
if they were gonna name him Paul.
I think I would have liked Paul a little bit better, because it is weird that in the universe of this movie, he named his baby after his still living friend who he just doesn't see very often.
I mean, that happens in real life, in stuff like that. If you have a very influential friend, in your or now family member, right? Why not just be hey man, you made a huge impact on my life. I'm about to name my kid after you.
I feel like that's what you use a middle name for. First name, he's Brian. We have 2 Brians in the family. Congrats, Mia. In addition to your husband, Brian, this is your new nephew, Brian, too.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, I was kind of waiting for the reveal to be oh, they named him Paul, which I would have been oh, they named him Paul.
And they're I don't know where I got it from, but something about the name Paul just sounds right to me. Yeah. Action-wise, in addition to the emotional beats of this movie, I love the New York scene. It's incredible that it took this series 8 movies to get to New York City in all of its globe-trotting. I love Cipher's approach of, I am going to hack the computer on every car and just make these cars these autonomous like RC vehicles. I am driving around the city. There's some like big parking garage where stories and stories up. She controls a bunch of the cars, ramps them off the edge, and you just have like this rain of cars. She controls them en masse, like a huge swarm of cars. It's just coming at you like a flood. That's really cool.
There was something I watched recently that had a very similar scene, but I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. And it's been bothering me since I saw that, because like immediately I was just like, oh, I've seen something like this where like people are either being controlled or it's some kind of thing like the cars are being controlled, but they are like going off the edge of a parking garage to like rain down. And like it may have even been something we watched on one of our shows. I don't remember. But
Lucy Liu kind of mind controls some people in Shazam Fury of the Gods, but they don't move as a whole pack. Yeah.
It wasn't that. It was something else. But I don't remember what. But I saw that and I was just like, whoa, this is wild. I do. So you mentioned the globe-trotting nature of the franchise. That's something I have loved about this series. We've gone East Coast, West Coast, Japan. We've gone to Abu Dhabi. We've gone to Russia. We've gone to Mexico. We've gone to all of these awesome places. And there was a scene in this one where they go to some like FBI black site, some like undisclosed location. And I thought it was really funny that in a franchise of globe trotting where they want to be like, now we're in Moscow, now we're in Abu Dhabi, now we're in Japan, now we're in undisclosed location. And they had like that text on screen. It was like, why do you even need to say that? Just don't say where it is. Like I get it. I just thought it was really fun.
You can't tell us where it is. I think that's what a black site means. Nobody knows. Right, redacted.
Exactly.
I would love to see them just tear up Omaha to Fargo. Let's get him in the plains. They go back to wherever Southern Brian is from, the Tokyo Drift kid. He returns to his hometown.
I have to say, I also thought, because I think this is where we first see Helen Mirren show up, right? I don't think she was in the one before this.
Right, yes. We first meet her in 8. Yeah, Dom sort of arranges a meeting with her, Queenie Shaw.
I was not expecting her to be in this. I don't think I knew she was in this.
Yeah.
So because we did a Shazam spoiler cast over on the Reactor Core. You guys can go check that out here on YouTube. But I like the only connection I knew going into see Shazam was like, oh, Chris Morgan, who wrote a lot of the scripts for Fast and the Furious. He's the one that also wrote Shazam Fury of the Gods. So that's why they put this in. But now after seeing that and then seeing Helen Mirren in this, I was like, it's not just him. It was her too. Like like they were both there. He makes a Fast and the Furious joke there too because it's her. I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah.
Jaimon Hansu, also the villain in this. I love Jaimon Hansu. They don't use him very much.
They don't. But
he's the villain in 7. He's in 7.
Too. Yeah. But I liked that Helen Mirren was showing up. So like I said, I thought most of this was kind of just generic, boring action. That being said, I am also kind of exaggerating it. I think it's a totally competent action film. I think more specifically, it didn't feel like Fast and the Furious for me until about an hour and 20 minutes in, when they do that lasso thing on Dom's car where they shoot all the spikes in it. That I was like, now it's starting to feel like a Fast and Furious movie. And then, of course, everything from the sub onwards, I thought was fantastic. Roman being dunked in the water there. I don't know how he doesn't have hypothermia and like that.
Well,
there was no
exactly.
mention of him being like in the car and still wet, right? It's just like he's there and magically dried off, even though there's no towels. He's in the same clothes. They did like, I don't know, but yeah, that whole like set piece there, I thought was fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. What did you think of like
I liked it. I will say that the struggle of an Arctic set piece is that it's by definition not very colorful. It's just sort of gray and white the whole time.
I mean, yeah, like I feel like though you could say the same thing about them being in the desert. It's just endless sand. Right. I hate it. Right.
Coruscants and everywhere. You know.
Yeah. But that is the thing. It is that checklist that I talked about, right? It is we've been to the desert. What's the opposite of a desert? Snow and ice. Yeah, let's do it. We've been to the city. What's the opposite of a city? The jungle. Next movie. Let's do it. Right?
We've done jungles, both concrete and leaf.
Exactly.
It's like they've got some like little kids picture book of places in the world, weather, and they're just flipping through the kids book. Where have we not been yet? Farm? When will they go to farm?
They have it like that child toy where you pull the crank and the thing spins around to be like, the cow says moo, but it's all these different locations.
The hacker says Moscow.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have much else to say on the fate of the Furious.
Let's talk 9.
Here, a nuclear football? What about a nuclear basketball? But they kept calling this device that Cipher was trying to get a nuclear football. And it was just
that's an existing phrase. No, that's real words.
Sure. I've also heard like yellow cake in regards to nuclear stuff, but it's just weird to me, some of the terms we have for random things like nuclear football. What about like a nuclear wiffle ball?
I don't know what sports were popular during the Cold War. Maybe they didn't wiffle their balls yet. You know, I don't know what year balls were first whiffled.
I just thought that there was like, oh, that's funny terminology. Never heard that before. But let's get on to Fast 9.
I love the flashback structure of this movie, which isn't so unique on its own, but it is not something we have seen yet in this franchise, where we open with this flashback to young Dom. The actor they get for young Dom is also a really nice match. Like, it's hard to find somebody who looks just like Vin Diesel, but they got pretty close. He's a good energy match for him. I really enjoyed that kid. Enjoyed all the
when you
ones.
go back and look at like cast photos of the very first one, he's so much skinnier. Like in the like he's bulked up a lot. Just in the course of making these movies, and so to see this like
technology as a whole has increased. The average person is buffer now than they were 20 or 25 years ago.
Just waiting for it to get out here in Oklahoma, you know, one of these days. But yeah, I thought he would, like, at first I was just like, doesn't really look like him, but I get it. But yeah, now that I've like taken in the whole thing and look back at those photos and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that's actually good match. I feel like, and even the actor that they got to do the young Jacob, the brother, I was like, that's a pretty good. I can see how he would then grow up to be that person.
Yes.
So yeah. Good stuff. I liked the flashbacks with this too, because it is like you said, it's not necessarily original, but it is the flashbacks where we get more and more context as we go.
Yes.
We think we know what happened, and then we see not in like here's the same scene in a new perspective, but like here's the next scene. Here's what happened immediately after that, and it starts to add more and more context, and then you start to understand where the like misinterpretations were between the brothers and all of this stuff, and it was just good. I liked it a lot, and that was my first note was this is off to a great start.
Yeah, I love the way the flashbacks look. I love in the later on, maybe like in the first or second act of the movie, Dom, he like trying to save somebody, he drowns. And he sort of goes into this dream state. And there's this really nice transition from he's floating in the water to he's walking around his childhood home. You know, the home they still have. It got blown up, but he still owns that land. And at the end of the movie, he builds the house back up again. Like he's back there again. You see him pass by a mirror. It transitions between him and young Dom. It's sort of dreamlike. He's seeing things you don't know how he could have seen. Like, it truly goes beyond the real at that point. I don't care about the lapses in physics, but yeah,
it's one of those things of like you did see this, you experienced it, but maybe at the time you didn't have the context or the like knowledge of how it all fit into this stuff, and so now as an adult looking back and dealing with all of this, you stumble on that and you're just like, oh, okay. I'm starting to see. I did like it was like I knew this, but I didn't know this.
Yeah,
which is basically what happens here. So
it's a lot like the scene in Fast 4, where he kind of Sherlock Holmeses his way into seeing how Letty died. Where it kind of stretches like. Can you really imagine that all this happened? Like you feel omnipotent, you feel psychic in that moment. Maybe he is. Maybe that's his superpower. Roman's invincible. Dom can see all.
Right? Yeah. He's like, because the tire tracks are at this angle, the car would have spun like that. And who knows?
Sherlock Holmes just for cars, doesn't know anything else. Car crimes only. NCIS. The C stands for cars.
Let's see here. So I have a bone to pick with the Fast franchise as a whole.
Bones.
I got bones, whole closet of them. Right over there.
I watched this thing entirely boneless, like a jellyfish.
like some boneless chicken at a barbecue.
I'm a straight nugget when I view these films.
Melissa, I mentioned the checklist, all of the stuff like there's the no brakes moment, there's they raced here in this environment in that country. Melissa, we haven't seen one airbag. The airbags in this movie suck. They don't deploy. All of these cars getting hit and rolling and crashes. No airbags.
Well, everything's customized to heck. I can imagine that they would have purposefully designed their cars to be like, I trigger the airbag. I know when I need it and when I don't. And when I just have to keep driving and I need that visibility.
Extra weight. Yeah. We don't need that.
Yeah. Yeah. Air? So heavy.
Yeah. They look, I'm sure they have all sorts of explanations that they could employ. That was just it was one of the crashes in Fast 9, not his father's, but it was one of the early ones that I was just like, huh, I haven't seen a single airbag in any of these movies. And you would think in a series about cars, there would be one airbag at least, right? And it would happen to Roman at an ill-opportune time. He's driving, he gets in a big wreck, it doesn't happen, but the car still works, and so he takes off. 2 minutes afterwards, it stops, and he has to still stare with this giant airbag in his face. I don't know.
Roman seems like he's into skincare and perhaps cosmetics. You could see a airbag blowing up in his face, and then Tej makes fun of him, like, you wear mascara? Like, there's mascara on this.
Right.
Roman
no wonder
to
you're
say,
the
no,
11th
it was from a hot girl.
wanted. Right? Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting observation. No airbags.
That's okay.
But yeah, like I mentioned at the start, I think this one has come full circle. We finally get to see like the thing that Dom mentioned, that there was a guy that he killed, he beat to death, like with this wrench. And we get to see that bit here. It's the guy that he thought killed his father. Which I think he mentioned that early on, that the guy he killed was the one he thought that killed his dad. I don't think I really put that together. Another case of like, I saw it, I was there, I just didn't have the context until it all came together, even though I should have known. The next note that I have here is that I really liked, like, one of my favorite scenes in F9 was the scene of Letty and Mia in Japan, just having a conversation. This was awesome. I loved it.
I love that we got to spend a little time with the two of them as sisters. Letty's been hanging around the Toretto family since they were like teenagers. Like,
high
her
school.
and Mia must be best friends. Yeah. Mia really gets some good moments in this movie. I love that she always stayed in touch with Jacob. She's the one who, like, she calls somebody, like, she puts them together. Mia's the one trying to bring the family together. When something happens to one of them, she calls the other. I forget what it is. Oh no, it's the very end of the movie. I think she
helps him up and is like, go get in the thing, and he starts to drive off because he's like, that's my moment to, like, okay, I'm gonna go off and do my own thing because I know you guys don't want me, but they also kind of had a moment, so he's just like, but now I kind of want to be back there, and then he
I feel like none of that happens if Mia isn't there. Dom couldn't have done that alone. Mia's always been odd in that she's always around. She can drive. She's a good driver, but she's just by her own choosing, just not on the level of everybody else. Like, she's not one of these action stars. She's sort of in the circle and out of the circle at the same time. But she has always been, she seems smart. She seems very alert, very attentive. She really knows the people around her, and she's very protective. And I like getting to see her strength and her determination in other non-action ways.
Yeah. I feel like at least most of these movies probably passed the Bechdel test. I wasn't really paying attention enough to really know, right? Of like, do two women have a conversation like that? Like,
well, it's to have a conversation about something that isn't a man, but I don't know, like, how many sentences they need to exchange that aren't about a man before it counts. Because at some point, some other cast member will come up. If Mia and Letty are talking, they're going to mention
it is all about
Dom
family,
or Brian or little Brian or somebody.
Yeah.
Or so, Han. That's their mission there. They have to go to Tokyo. They get these big, delicious looking ramen bowls. You see Jordana Brewster, like, pick at the same little bamboo shoot over and over again in every shot because they're not actually eating. And then when they realize, oh, that's that flag in the window, that's a signal, like Han's right there, they just leave their beers and their ramen behind. Yeah. I was so upset.
But like that, I think is what was so impactful about that scene is because they do mention some things about Han or Brian, but then she had like, but how are you? Like they start to have a heart to heart, And we haven't gotten that between any of the women that have been involved in these movies. And that even as short as it was, as much as it got interrupted, that scene went a long ways to just be like, this feels like family. They really care about one another. And this is partly why I was like, I really feel like Fast 9 is much more adept at dealing with this ensemble cast than the previous ones have. Even though the previous ones weren't bad at it, like they did a good job, but it was just like, it has that extra oomph, right? That I really, really enjoyed. I think even seeing Han interact with this new character, I forget her name, the young girl that he saved, Elle, yes. Like I think even just the way that he is treating her and introducing them, all the reunions that we got in this movie for
those
Han, all fantastic stuff that was like, I went through it like, okay, he's getting to see the Dom, he's getting to see this person, like there are all of these little interconnected relationships, and before it happened, I was like, we haven't gotten the most important one yet. Han and Sean. Like I need like, why haven't we got this yet? And I wrote that down. We eventually got that one, but I was just like, where is it? Like I like, it started to make me expect all of these different combinations of characters just off in their own thing. And I was just like, oh, there's one that's pulling at my heart. I need it.
This movie was great at that. Like when Han comes back, the first person to go up and hug him is Tej. And I don't know if Tej and Han ever had any specific interactions with each other before, but they've just always been around as part of the group. But that's such an emotionally affecting hug. Tej hugs him so tight. Roman, like, can't believe it. He just sort of reaches out and touches him, like, to make sure he's not a ghost, but not in a funny way. In like a very heartfelt, like, wow, I am so grateful for your presence, sort of.
I was expecting Roman in this moment to like look Han up and down, and then look at Tej and be like, I freaking told you, not a scratch. And I'm like, we're invincible, right? I was expecting that because they just had that conversation like right before he shows up. And so it was still, but it's all these great reconnections. The way that Dom hugs him too. He was just like, oh yes, that's a good hug. That's a great hug.
Vin Diesel is so good at playing love in these movies. Like when he is expressing love of any kind for any other character, you believe it so wholeheartedly. Like you believe that he loves Letty more than anything else. It's, I think, what he is best at among all of his stunts, among all of his big gruff presence. Like that man is able to play care very well. And
Absolutely.
The Tokyo Drift guys, I did not recognize upon first sight. I'm like, who are these new guys we're getting introduced to? It wasn't until somebody said Twinkie that everything clicked for me.
I recognized them right away, except they're the one dude is new, right? The Asian guy that's
the guy with
them.
I didn't remember him as well. He may have been in Tokyo Drift in just a more minor role. I don't know. I'd have to watch Tokyo Drift again.
I don't know. But the scene where Letty and Mia go into the apartment after seeing the Mexican flag, they meet Al and then get outside, and there's the sniper that's protecting them. I thought at first that was DK. Like when it looked, I was like, oh, a good little nod for DK. How did he get a sniper rifle? I have no idea. But sure, like I've seen wilder things here, but no, that is Han. He was looking after them, making sure they were safe.
The new movie, Jason Momoa is supposedly playing the son of Braga, who's like the big criminal, the big foe of Fast 5. They've brought back these older characters. I would love to see the guy running that car auction from Fast 6 where they stole all his clothes. I want that guy to come back with a vengeance. He's the next big bad. They've got this legion of evil that's like Braga's son, DK, one of the other gang members from the first movie, and that guy, the guy who got his pants taken.
To be honest, I've kind of been expecting the franchise to go in that direction, to make an evil family, right? Just the villains team up, and they're like, you got your life ruined by them too. They all have like Modelo's instead, right? But like
they have a hibachi, not an outdoor barbecue grill.
I think it'd be so funny.
Off.
Yeah, just to bring back.
I need evil family.
What was I mean the actor from Too Fast, Too Furious who played the villain, like he's still around, right? Bring him back. Bring Eva Mendes back. We saw her in that one like post credits scene to be like, Letty's still alive. I mean she could again play the like undercover operative on the bad family, which would be a good head nod to her character in Too Fast. But yeah, like I want to see a couple of the villains team up. I think that would be interesting, especially with Cipher still alive.
Yeah.
She is still out there. She now, I feel like, has a vendetta against the Toretto family, right? And man, I want to see them do that, and I want to see them just pull off a normal ass heist. I want them to see. I want to see them stealing DVDs again. I need that again somehow, someway. It can be ridiculous. They're hijacking a plane that's importing DVDs of some movie. I don't know. I just God, just some head nod to that I think would be great.
I've got the assembly cut of Avatar 3 in the back of this jet.
Right. the yet to be released XXX sequel.
4 X's.
Yeah. Stuff like that I think would be great. But yeah, I think with the mention of Han, if I can circle back around to that, I like that he's back. That's fantastic. I think how he survived, I don't think they really explained it well enough, and they were just and then like by movie magic, he's still alive.
He's able to like wriggle out of the wreckage, and then Mr. Nobody blows it up for him.
I was expecting to see some kind of scene almost like the under the bridge scene in 5 when they switch the safes that they were stealing, where like his car actually made that turn and he pulled in at the same time Mr. Nobody like launched out the same make and model of his car and blew that up instead. Like I was expecting to see something like that, but it's not what we got. They were just like, and yeah, we saved him. It was just like, how? It blew up instantly. Shaw was right there and saw him there. The car had already blown up. The car was on fire. We could see him in there. I don't know. Who knows? But then they were just like, magical wipe. He's not there anymore.
He lives.
Yeah.
I was so excited when I remembered Han is back in this movie and I get to see Han again.
It's the meme from Star Wars. Somehow the Emperor lived. Somehow Han lived.
The dead speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this the movie where there's the all women car dance around party?
Yes. Yeah.
I liked that. I liked that. I think every movie has had a bunch of scantily clad women dancing around cars.
Much more modest dresses in this one. Still like very like skin tight, like contour forming, all that stuff. But yeah, not like, whoa, there's some booty cheeks right there.
Yeah. I like I said, I watch these movies very impressionistically. I remember movement and colors and feelings. I watch these movies like a baby watches a mobile. So I don't remember a lot of these details. But I did like seeing the all women car dance around party. It's not clear what's going to happen there. At these other things, it's like, oh, we are hyped up for a race of some kind, but there's just cars and there's just women, and the women are just there celebrating. Like they're all wearing these beautiful white dresses. They feel so joyous, so free. I liked getting to see that different variation on the standard wiggle your butt near an engine.
Here's the weird thing about that scene, though. The like financer for Jacob, that like evil dude, he employs all of those women. They're all on his payroll. They're not there they're like, oh, I heard there was going to be like a sick party over at the mansion, right? It's all like, all right, guys, this is a work party. Please dress appropriately. The theme is white, right? And they're all paid to be there. No wonder they're having fun. Free alcohol, like all that stuff. Like you've heard stories of like certain office Christmas parties that were like the next year they had to have been like, all right, guys, we got to nix the alcohol this next year. Like these guys haven't gotten that yet, is what I feel like it is. So it's so weird. They're all on the payroll. But yeah. Let's see what else I got here. We got Cardi B showing up in this one. She was the musician of the month for that one here. Do have my note about being more competent with an ensemble cast, looping in past lore. I like how all of it just kind of felt full circle and came together in all these different ways. Then we get this sequence of Dom pulling a Samson for the biblical story of Samson and Delilah.
Not Brock Samson.
No. Well, I'm sure he could do the same thing. Just this idea of him like pulling on these chains to bring down the environment around him, even though in the Bible, the story of Samson, he gets his power from his luscious locks, his beautiful hair, and he cuts them off for Delilah, and that's what makes him wake. But then in the end, he like knocks down all of these columns to bring it down on everyone there. And I was like, oh, this is Samson in a family story about this like family cross that they always have there. It's just like an interesting like biblical nod.
There. Like these movies have, Dom is clearly a character of faith, sort of this very vague, like he never mentions like Jesus. He doesn't say like God in the sort of general spiritual sense, like he has a cross, but it's not a crucifix. And there haven't been any really specific biblical references at any point. So that's interesting.
Yeah. At the end of this one, when they give Little B the opportunity to do the prayer, I thought we were gonna get a prayer scene where the only word he says is God. Because earlier on in the movie, he was like, hey, you know that God is in your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was like, all right, it's your turn to say the prayer, he was like, well, I don't know what to do. And then he says, just say what's in your heart. And so I thought he was just gonna be like, God.
I learned.
And just
Dad,
there,
I know.
right?
You told me. I remembered.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about going to space.
Yeah.
Real fast. I feel like this is one of the last things that I have to say on this. We've already been recording for like an hour and 30 something minutes here, almost an hour and 40. But we need to talk about Tej and Roman going to space because of course it's them. Who else would it be? Right. Yeah, you mentioned that one scene where they get to look at the Earth out there. I thought that was a beautiful scene, and then immediately go, no one's gonna believe us, right? that we were out here. It was just like, we have this awesome experience. And even through all the ridiculous stuff that we have done, and I'm sure is documented somewhere out there, no one will believe us that we strapped a rocket engine to a freaking car and went to space.
But I like that they're not, like, something goes wrong. They have to use like all of the juice they would use to get back to Earth just to push themselves at the satellite and break it. And there's a moment where they're like, either we really are invincible and we're going to get out of this fine, or if we have to die, don't you want to die doing this? Yeah. So, and they're like, let's go for it. Hit the NOS. Let's go. And then to get back home, they just have to go knock on the door of like the International Space Station. Like, guys, can you take us in? So in this case, there are witnesses. There is proof. Yeah. Tej and Roman went to space. People can corroborate that story.
One of the other really, really funny things that I like about this sequence, as they are discussing about how everything works, how like we just need to put our faith in the numbers and all that stuff. Tej says something like, as long as we follow the rules of physics, and immediately hands go up. I was like, Tej, when have you guys ever followed the rules of physics in this franchise? It does not happen. This is ridiculous.
Like I said,
it was funny.
I do love anytime there is a man of science, man of faith conflict that hits my lost senses.
It's good. Yep. Uh-huh. Exactly.
We've even got like the flashback structure like it is an episode of Lost.
Yep. Absolutely.
Michelle Rodriguez has to ask, do you know who Jacob is? Real Lost stuff happens in this movie.
They're in the jungle at the start of this one too,
Yes, it's here.
Wild stuff.
Somebody eat a big tub of ranch, please.
Last thing I want to say on this movie is I feel like someone saw the Breaking Bad meme. Magnets, bitch.
Oh, like, I thought you were going to say he throws the pizza on the roof.
No.
That's the one I know.
Just the whole idea of like everything they do in this, like the way they could like up the ante in this is magnets. What if we just put giant magnets on all of these cars to like push and pull objects closer to them, which is a really fascinating idea. And the way they use it is interesting too. It's very similar to them going through the landmines at the start, where if they go fast enough, the thing will explode. They'll be fine, but anyone behind them will get blown up. However, there are also scenes of like people side by side, and it's always the bad guy that gets blown up, even if they're side by side and not them, even though they both should have gotten hit. It was strange. But the magnet stuff, I felt like they must have like really liked this idea. Magnets, bitch. and then was like, let's make a whole movie out of that.
What I like about that sort of real magnety action sequence, I love that Ramsey can't drive. I think that's funny to have somebody in the crew who just quietly does not have the ability. Yes,
on that part.
Ramsey is here for
license.
You.
Yeah, I don't have a license either.
I love when Jacob hops on the zip line and just keeps zip lining for seemingly miles.
I don't know why. In my mind, when I saw him just zip lining and keep zip lining, I just in my mind, my head went like zipping my way downtown.
Walking fast, faces passing him homebound.
And he's just zip, 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 zip. I don't know why.
Now I gotta see if there's a Fast and Furious AMV set to 1,000 miles.
Let me see if I can look it up on YouTube. But yeah, that's most of all I have to say on this one.
My final thing I want to say is that when Dom goes back to rebuild the house on the plot of land that has been there since movie 1 in 2001, the whole family comes over for a barbecue. Leo and Santos come back into the story, and I think only one of them is there. Mm-hmm. I don't know the situation with the other actor. Maybe he also died tragically. I don't know, because they talk about him like, oh, he's still alive. Yeah, he's running a restaurant up in New York City. Like, I don't know what the situation is, but I like that everybody you don't see in the story is okay somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
I like this universe they're creating where the force of family is so strong, even if somebody isn't present, have faith that they are out there somewhere and they are okay. They are prospering. I really like that just motif, that philosophy of these movies. And I like when Letty talks to Little B like, hey, right here is the first place where I met your mom. She's up in heaven. She's always going to watch over you. Like, I love that Letty is present in this kid's life, but like they make sure like the kid that Elena is still a presence also. Like, we're going to talk about your mom. Your mom loved you. She's not here, but she's still watching out for you. Like, even if characters who do die still exist, they still talk about Elena. They still talk about Giselle. Like, the one character who hasn't come back up again is that one guy who was in 1 and then came back and died in 5. Like, on the whole, there's a real sense of presence and continuity to this world where everybody still gets talked about, whether they're alive or dead or present or not.
Yeah. Even Shea Wiggum's character, the like CIA agent, he shows back up in this. Yes. And you can see his nose is all messed up where they've hit him like a bunch of times to do all of that. Like, there are these they have really, really built out a world that they can play around in, right? Like, they just it is a story about dealing with consequences of your actions, of whether they were on purpose or inadvertent, and then just kind of being skyrocketed into these like preposterous just things that you can do. It's an interesting world to play around in. I thought that this one was also interesting for, this is the 9th numbered movie, technically the 10th one with Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes.
But they this is the one where we find out that Dom has a secret brother that both him and Mia didn't mention, right? In a franchise about family, they don't mention the secret brother, which I thought was kind of silly. Yeah. But then we also I think jokingly last time we talked about this, I was like, I didn't know there was an animated series based on the Fast and the Furious, whereas it's based on Dom's cousin, like Anthony Toretto or something like that. But then also at the start of Fate, we get another one of his cousins who's out there, right? So it's like there's more Torettos like out there, and
all
we don't
over.
know, we barely know anything about them, but they're all on their own like car ventures. Like they're all just out there.
Yes.
Yeah. Just
I hope there's
wild.
one Toretto who's like just a CPA. Or just like, yeah, I live in downtown Chicago. Yeah, I just take the train everywhere. I also don't drive.
Yeah. I like that they've built out a really, really cool world where even like these movies have been so successful and so big that I feel like even for just a cameo, even for one scene, like so many people would be down to reprise their role just for this one scene. And yeah, I think that makes it really, really neat where you can build out a world like that, where it's just like, hey, we need you for one scene. It'll be one day. We'll fly you out, and then you can just get all of this stuff. And you're like, oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's this one.
I want to see some of two come back. I want Eva Mendes and those other like brightly colored racers from the beginning of the movie.
I'm mad that we haven't gotten more stunts in the Hulkmobile. Bring
me the Hulk car. I love the Hulk car.
Twinkie's Hulk car. I would love to see a spin-off where it is mostly just the rappers of the month doing their thing there. I would love to see like more vehicles besides cars. Like, what does a Fast and Furious movie look like with all boats or mostly
all boats?
Boats, right? Like that'd be interesting.
Yeah, like throw in a motorhome, throw in a limousine.
Yep.
Just I want to see Roman drive a limousine. Right. Throw a whole bus in there. Well, I guess it's really going to be tough to beat that bus fight in Shang-Chi. Like that might have topped bus. That in the movie Speed. Maybe they don't do bus. Yeah. Maybe there's no way for them to top bus. But like, who's doing, Winnebago stunts? It could be this
exactly.
movie. Could be these.
Yeah, like I would like to see stuff like that. I do want other characters from the past being brought back. Love to see Suki being brought back. Where is she? Right? Like, I want more people like that who were like in one of the races. We did get a brief, I forget the guy's name, the Hispanic dude from the first movie. Yeah, we got to see him brief. Yes, Hector. He showed that was fantastic.
Yes,
like he got my favorite line of that movie. Now that's valet parking, right? Like, dude, that's not valet parking. But they've created a world like that where that they can go back to some of these places. They can include some of these characters, and it feels right at home. And I love that. Even as wild and ridiculous as all of these things are, it's fun. It's so much fun. They're so entertaining. These are a blast.
I'm just thinking about how in Hobbs and Shaw, they say that Hobbs's daughter is only 9. I wish we could introduce some sort of a time jump so we can get her. She's just gotten her license and she's already in this world. Like maybe The Rock doesn't want to come back. Okay. Put little Hobbs in there. I want to see what she can do.
That's also something that I would love to see them do down the road is what I love about DC Comics a lot is their sense of legacy.
Yeah.
Marvel has been very slow on that, but in recent years has picked that up a lot more, especially with like Miles Morales and Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, all of that stuff. Like DC Comics has really had that down pat for a long, long time. And I don't really feel like, I mean, there's movies out there where they've done it, right? Where it's now the kids of the people from the first movie that do this thing.
Mm.
I don't feel like they've really given that theme or that idea justice. And the Fast and the Furious has set themselves up to be exactly that. And having little Brian grow up and drive cars, having having the Rock's daughter be a thing, right? Like, man, like they have this idea of legacy. What does that look like in this franchise? Do they go into street racing? Do they go into F1? Do they go into some other kind of thing? Is it like, do they be like, I hate this, I want to be a musician, a CPA, right? Like you said, right? Like
I'm going to clown school. I'm going to learn the art of the unicycle.
Right? And it's what does a Fast and the Furious movie look like with all clowns?
I can't wait for what I'm hoping in Fast and the Furious 10. I want to see Rita Moreno do a stunt on like a motorized scooter. I want to see her ram into somebody. Grandma's getting in on it.
Yeah. There is so many, I think, interesting directions that this series could still go in and just still be fun and ridiculous. So I'm excited to see what they do down the road. Last but not least, Melissa, you and I did a trailer reaction to the first trailer of Fast 10 when it came out. If you guys want to go check that out, I will probably have that be the like video that pops up at the end of this here. But that one was interesting for us to react to because it was kind of like right before we started or like after we had done the first trilogy, I think. I had only seen the first 3 Fast and the Furious. You had now only seen the first 3, and then we watched this like, here's gonna be the 10th numbered installment, and we're all sitting there just like, what is like, how do we get here? So I think that was a lot of fun and something people should go check out. But,
it's nice to have more context for that trailer and things like, I don't think I knew Rita Moreno was new. I thought maybe she would be in 7 or 8. Nope, she's an addition just for 10. Now she's here.
Yep. Exactly,
bringing in more Academy Award winners.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. I think that is our coverage of the most recent Fast Saga trilogy, 7 through 9. So let's get into bingo and recommendations and all that stuff. I guess I should pull this all up. I should have been prepared. Okay, bingo is coming up on screen in just a sec. Bam, and then let me do this down to 75. Okay. Yeah, I was expecting if I'm here and you're here, then who's driving the bus kind of thing, but we didn't get that.
I've got some stuff. I've got Stuck with a Kid.
I do have that one too.
I've got, if we are bringing Hobbs and Shaw into this, since we both did watch it, that can give me More Machine Than Man.
Yes.
I'm going to take Tall Guy and Small Guy for Hobbs and Shaw. Feel like I could also get Sassy Grandparent. Rock's mom. Pretty sassy.
There's More Machine Than Man. Did we get any kind of contemporary reference to retro tech?
I don't think so. It's not like Ramsey's coded something into a beeper.
The closest thing we get is when they give Cipher the thing, but I don't know if that would like they just say like, hey, we're going old school, Right.
Like they have to give her a device with
thing.
zero internet connectivity. So basically,
but I don't really know if
typewriter.
But I don't really know if that counts as like a reference to retro tech.
Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly it either. We haven't had any actors playing.
Literally hiding in a closet. How do you feel about little B hiding in their little bunker? It's not a like closet you keep your clothes in.
No, he goes into like a little like storm shelter thing. It seems like they made it for him to hide. Like he probably has like graham crackers down there and a coloring book just in case.
True. Let's see here. I have cat and mouse game on here, but I kind of envision that as more of like detective and
sure
thing there. I don't think we got any death by electrocution. I think that might be all I have.
I'm thinking on the sexy red dresses. I think Helen Mirren wears a red dress. She looks great for her age. Great at any age. I'd love to look like Helen Mirren now. She's so lovely and graceful. But I don't know if that's exactly what I intended. I meant it as like here's a va-va-voom statement piece.
Right.
Here's like the frumpy tech secretary.
The Matrix.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a question. So for my quota square, which we came up with the idea of like we can have you pick a number and you pick an object and you have to see that many of an object throughout the year to get this to mark off this square. I have hot dogs. We had one, I think, in like Modica Magica for hot dogs. Here we see some hot dogs on a grill. Do you count those? Because they're not in the bun, they're not being seen like eaten or anything like that. Did we get a good enough look to be like, oh, those are brats, rather than like that's a hot dog?
Yeah, we can't accept brats or sazitzes of any kind. I feel like at these family barbecues, hot dogs are imminent, especially at the 1 in 9. That's probably what little B's going to eat.
The 1 in 9 is the one I'm thinking of.
Yes, I don't think that 3-year-old's going to eat like the barbecue chicken. The 3-year-old wants a hot dog.
So I'm going to mark down in my notes here that I did find a second one then in F9. I am 1 away from being able to mark down that square.
I have a square called Cool Step Parent, which Letty definitely is. But I was thinking of cool step parent being from the perspective of a kid saying, oh man, I really looked out. My new step parent's rad. Or from the perspective of the other parent who has been divorced. Like, man, that guy's cooler than me. How do I be a cooler dad? So us, the audience, saying like, Letty's rad. I'm happy you have her. I don't think that meets the intention of what the square is.
Yeah, neither do I. Because she, I mean, yeah, I guess she technically is a step parent. Like it's technically there, but it's I don't feel like it's in spirit of what we wanted with that one. But I think that's most of it.
Yeah, I was able to add a couple. This was productive.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, everything is saved. With that, Melissa, let's get to recommendations. We did some recommendations when we first started covering the Fast and the Furious. Now our second round of recommendations here at the end. What would you recommend to people who enjoyed this?
In the first episode, we talked about other big action franchises. Previously on the review show, we've covered Mission Impossible, the Daniel Craig James Bonds, John Wick. Now that John Wick 4 is out, and more than ever, I recommend John Wick. Boy, howdy.
Yeah, absolutely.
we've watched The Matrix. Like, we've watched a lot of stuff. This is not a movie I have seen, but watching these last couple Fast movies made me want to make sure I stop and watch it, which is Atomic Blonde, the Charlize Theron action vehicle. A standalone, not part of a franchise. Atomic Blonde stands on her own.
Standalone, but based off of a comic.
I didn't know that.
Different name. I don't remember what the name of the comic is. It's like it's not named Atomic Blonde. But I don't remember exactly. So that's what, like, people are still hoping they go back and do that, because I think there's more to that story in there. But yeah, I think that would be a good action film to put in there.
I still haven't seen The Old Guard. I figure you would recommend The Old Guard.
The Old Guard is fantastic, especially if you like Charlize Theron. Especially her hair in F9 feels like a wig on top of her hair for The Old Guard. I know F9 was only like 2 years ago, and I think The Old Guard was like 3 or 4 years ago. So probably
Old Guard,
right,
I think, was early pandemic. I feel like that came out on Netflix like spring 2020.
Yeah, something like that. So I mean, it may have been right around the same time, but yeah, she's fantastic in that. I like her a lot in there.
If to recommend Vin Diesel tugging at your heartstrings, you've got some of the finest films out there. The Iron Giant.
Yeah.
Always a good time to watch The Iron Giant. And my own beloved Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, also kind of movies about found family, right?
Yeah. This May, you can go to the theater and you can see 2 different franchise capping Vin Diesel movies.
Double dose of Diesel.
You can also go to the theaters this month and see another Michelle Rodriguez action movie, but this time it's Fantasy Michelle in Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would recommend, I don't remember if I recommended this at the start, The Italian Job, if you want another heist movie centered around cars. I was kind of wanting, I think I was not necessarily wanting, but expecting more references to like other famous car movies, whether it is like, oh, there's the Aston Martin that is James Bond's like thing there. They could do a whole historical Fast and the Furious with historical cars. Bring Herbie back. Bring
I would love one that is like, it's Fast and Furious, but for the people who have like convention show cars. Like, I have the original Herbie, or I've recreated a movie accurate Herbie, or an Ecto 1, or a Christine. I want an all pop culture cars heist.
I was expecting some, like, just a little bit more references to stuff like that in this here. But yeah, there's tons of car related movies you can go check out. All of that good stuff. Yeah,
the Burger Car and Good Burger.
Yeah.
The Burger Car in SpongeBob SquarePants.
You need the like Oscar Mayer Wiener car in Fast 10, right?
The Mutz Cuts mobile from Dumb and Dumber. The Mirth mobile from Wayne's World.
Yeah, God, that'd be so great. No, so I would recommend that. I think even stuff along the lines of Mission Impossible, as these stunts just get bigger and more wild. I think they are really doing some incredible stuff with all of these stunts. Yeah, it was interesting to see characters like Tony Jaa be in the Fast and Furious. If you want more actual like fist fighting, hand to hand stuff, he has his whole Ip Man franchise and stuff like that. I mentioned the Expendables. Right? Yep. Big bombastic action movies with a bunch of stars all in one big ensemble cast. Go do that.
If you liked the racing scenes in Fast 9, like the flash forwards to the young Torettos, there's a really nice episode of the new Poker Face series, which is like a mystery of the week format, where one of them she solves is a attempted murder on a racetrack. Also, last time I was at my parents' house, my dad channel surfed into 10 minutes in the middle of the movie Days of Thunder. I liked that 10 minutes.
I've never seen Ford versus Ferrari, but that's a car movie out there.
We got to do a set of pitches on race movies. So it's like movies where cars are raced, not like the movie Crash. We got to watch.
There's something that like Michael Fassbender does something with Le Mans. It's like Road to Le Mans or like 24 Hours of Le Mans. I'm not sure, but he has I think that's more of a show, I think, but I don't know.
We could do a set of pitches. It's Ford versus Ferrari. It's Rush. It's Days of Thunder. There you go. Or even things on the fringes of racing. Logan Lucky. You should watch Logan Lucky. It's way less about stunts and way more. It's a heist movie, a really classic, really well constructed, tightly plotted heist movie where they are heisting the snack bar cache from a NASCAR racetrack. Yeah. Logan Lucky, one of my favorite films the last handful of years. I enjoy that movie so much.
I would even put Mad Max Fury Road on the recommendation list, especially as a franchise that kind of reinvigorated / like reimagined itself with that movie. That one I know it's still all, still all in the same timeline, still all but there's just a certain like feeling with that one that the other ones didn't have. So yeah, I think that is about it for recommendations. All sorts of good stuff out there. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. For next week.
Yes.
Melissa, you and I already have what we are going to do picked out. We talked about it last week. That's when we picked it out. Because that's what we'd like to do here for these end of the month specials, is we actually pick the thing for the week after it, the week before. Mm-hmm. But next week, I had pitched 3 animated television series based off of video games. And you picked out Arcane, which there is one season of this. It's on Netflix. So you guys can go check it out. It is based off of League of Legends. And even though I am a big video gamer, I don't know anything about League of Legends. I don't play it, never have. I'm not interested.
That's that movie where Tom Hanks says there's no crying in baseball, right?
It's something. I don't know. But yes, I have watched this show at the end of last year, just kind of on my own. And I had heard amazing things, only to watch the show and confirm, yes, this show is fantastic. You don't need to know anything about the game to understand it. But that is what we will do for this next week, Arcane, which is available on Netflix. So there you go. Melissa, have you started it yet by chance?
I watched episode 1. Okay. I'm worried. I am in a very draining period at my day job right now where they're putting a lot of new information on us. I have to learn a lot of new processes. I have to learn a lot of new details. I'm worried I don't have the capacity for this amount of fantasy lore. I'm going to watch it, but I can't guarantee that next week I'm going to remember most of the things that happen. I think my brain is full.
We'll figure it out. But that is what we will be talking about next week. So look forward to that. And then last but not least, I already mentioned this during the housekeeping, but our next end of the month special, specials for the next 3 months will be The Good Place. We will be covering
4. I think it's
it was 3 seasons.
Oh, we looked this up months ago. It is 3 or 4.
For the next 3 or 4 months, 1 season a month, we will
4
be covering.
Seasons.
4 seasons. There you go, confirmed.
Yes.
So for the next 4 months, we will be talking about The Good Place for our end of the month specials. Melissa, this is one that you really wanted to bring on the show. Show. My partner was also being like, I want to watch this with you. So this is serendipitous that we picked this one too. So yeah.
Yeah. I have a big sitcom blind spot. I feel I haven't seen more than like an episode or two of a lot of the recent sitcoms from like the last 15 years or whatever. Like, I've seen some Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've seen some Parks and Rec.
Sure.
The Good Place seemed like it had enough of a kind of a lore to it. Like, it's got enough going on that it seemed like it would be a lot for us to talk about beyond just that joke's funny. Isn't that guy silly? Like, it seems, not to say that other sitcoms don't have substance, but it felt like there was at some deeper levels here, and like 4 seasons. I don't think the episode, orders are that long. Like, this seemed like a perfect length for us to tackle in doing a sitcom for the first time in the ongoing monthly series. We hadn't done that before.
Absolutely. That being said, that wraps us up for this week's podcast. It was a long one.
Yep.
But Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WilkyWit. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, a show I co-host with my brother Jams, literal family, where we talk about obscure old TV shows that we vaguely remember. We force you to remember them as well.
Good stuff. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer, and if you would like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. I think I said I'd put our trailer reaction to Fast 10 right over here, so go check that out. We hope you enjoyed all of these. We will see you next week for Arcane, and we'll be back next month for The Good Place. We will see you then. Bye.
Bye.